to the, that night we also met Jack Nicholson. We went back to Mike's apartment. And I'm going to tell you something that I rarely tell other people. You may enjoy it. But Mike Nichols had scarlet fever. You know what that does to you. You have no hair. He had no eyebrows. He had no hair in his nose. But that didn't stop them. I hadn't yet from doing cocaine. So Nicholson and Nichols did cocaine, which meant that when you do it, you know, stuff runs out of your nose. But your hairs keep it from running, but Mike didn't have that. And that's the degree to which the disease of addiction humiliates and destroys one's self-esteem and body. So Mike Nichols didn't have self-esteem either, because you don't do cocaine when you have no hair, scarlet fever, and you've overcome it. But that's a sad story. I loved him dearly, but you know, being rich and famous doesn't mean you're going to be sober. They're not sober. So cut to Hollywood now. I'm there, and I'm this sex symbol who's tested for this. There's a picture somewhere up here in a crochet bikini. They cast me for it because of that picture, not my reading or acting. And anyway, I'm at the pool of the Beverly Hills, and I'm hanging out, and I loved there. It was like the south of France. It was, and I knew the plagiste. It's called. Remember plagiste, the word? Sven was the man, and I'd go every day. And my girlfriend would say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You'll get a reputation." What do I care? It was lovely. So one day the phone rings for me, and I was even paged. You know, they paged of all people Mickey Mouse, Monsieur Mickey Mouse. They would page, you know, in French, Mickey Mouse is Monsieur Mickey Mouse. So they paged me, and I answered the phone, and hi, it's Jack Nicholson. I want to come over for tea. He was filming The Last Tycoon. I said, oh, well, that would be nice. I said, but how about dinner? He said, oh, I can't be seen with you. He was living with Angelica Houston at the time. I said, well, you know, no dinner, no tea, and I hung up on him. And that's how the men in Hollywood treated women. So then after that, there's a producer named Marty Bregman, and I say producer, cough, cough, because these guys are players with a capital P. So he said, how would you like a blind date with Sean Connery? And I said, well, fine. So I'm back in New York, so I go to the club and I meet Sean Connery, and we date a few times. He's not a very nice man. Anyway, anybody remember his movies?
Goldfinger and stuff like that.
Yes, stuff like that. Yeah.
007.
But in any event, he wasn't very kind. So then there was another blind date that Marty had for me. He said, how would you like to meet Al Pacino? I said, well, sure. So I meet Al Pacino, and we go to the same restaurant. It's called The Club. You'd think this was an office for this sort of thing. And Al says, look, it's Marty Bregman's birthday, and I'm giving him a surprise party. But, you know, I don't want him to know about it, so why don't we do an improv that you and I are going to make love later and kiss on the dance floor. And I thought, this sounds good. So we start kissing and hugging, and I'm having a great time. And then he says to Marty, we're going to go back to Carol's, and I think this is Marty will really believe this. So we go out in the car, we're in the taxi, and he's still kissing me. We're at the bottom of the taxi cab, and we get to the party, and he says, I don't want to go. I said, what do you mean you don't want to go? I said, you're giving this party. He said, I want to go back and make love to you. I said, Al, you have to go to the party. So I talked him into it. We go up to the party, and a little teenager with a bottle of beer opens the door, and he walks in, and I never saw Al Pacino again. Now, I found out he got sober, and that's just another alcoholic tale. So then who comes next? Peter Sellers, I forgot him. I don't know where where are the boys? Here they are. No, here they are. This is Peter. Peter, wonderful man, Peter Sellers. Not like James Bond, not like the others, not like Jack Nicholson. Nice man. What movies was he in, Peter Sellers?
Oh, the Pink Panther.
Pink Panther. Who did he play?
Jacques Poirot.
No.
Dr.
No?
Monsieur Clouseau.
Clouseau, yeah.
Monsieur Herbert knew Monsieur Clouseau.
Clouseau, yeah. Clouseau.
And another one that was so great, The Bomb.
Yeah.
Dr. Strangelove.
Dr.
Well, how I
Strangelove.
start.
And
the
the guy has this arm that's automatic like
Yes.
this.
Wasn't he great?
It's terrific.
And you know, he gave me acting lessons.
Yeah.
He gave me a lot. He was a very generous person. When I say a lot, I mean to get acting lessons from Peter Sellers is a real honor. I also dated Robin Williams. I studied comedy in improv. But acting is very different between Robin and Peter Sellers. Peter said you have to memorize your scene. We do scenes. You have to know your delivery. It was very, what do you say, chiseled and regimented. You can kind of tell it by his performances. There was no improvisation. Whereas Robin was all improvisation. There's a school of acting where you just work off the other person. You're happy, I'm happy. You're not, you know. But
Goes forward.
Peter,
Go forward.
Peter was all for precision. His work was precision. He was a lovely man. He bought my dog, Canigoo. Now I had Claude's dog. He pissed on all the great, lawns of Hollywood. Rod Stewart's.
Ron Brown.
He was a celebrated pisser. He was in Peter Sellers' home, and he got around. He actually made the cover of my book. Where is he? He was a star. Sorry, Herbert. I don't mean to insult you. You're still #1 today. Where's the book? If you see the book, and who sees the book? Here's the book. Here's Tutu. Tutu was dog napped from Tutu's a Picasso, by the way. This is Tutu. This is Peter, and this is Claude, and this is me. You can get this book on Amazon, Picasso's Ghost. And Peter took this picture of me. And I told you about low self-esteem and celebrity and money. Well, Peter had no self-esteem. He took this picture, which I think is beautiful, don't you? Well, he didn't. After he took it, 2 nights went by. He said, I have to have a reshoot. I took this one of Peter, the other one. And I said, oh, Peter, whatever. And he said, then the 3rd night he called. He said, look, I'm really unhappy with the pictures. We have to do it again. So now I thought, in my low self-esteem, that I wasn't pretty enough for him. So I thought he was just making that all up because his neighbor was Cheryl Teague. Remember her? And she's beautiful. I have a funny face. It's hard to photograph it. I know this is my good side. That's my bad side. So Cheryl, you couldn't take a bad picture of Cheryl. So I thought I wasn't pretty enough for Peter. So I made a date with some schmuck. And he asked me if I wanted to have dinner. And I said, no, I have plans. And I didn't want to be with this person. But I was insulted that he felt I wasn't pretty enough, which is totally in my head. You know, Chris, I can get a little paranoid at times still today. So, think somebody doesn't like you when it's not true. So I never saw Peter again, except I heard he went by the glass shop on Sunset, and the picture of me in the crocheted bikini made it into all these shops. Hollywood loves to put pictures of glossies of actress on their wall with sign. It's very funny. So Peter went in and said, does anybody know where that woman is today? And it was me. And I thought that was very, very sweet. It was a place called Optic Boutique. I remember the name. But I did love Peter. So he was gone. Now, 1977 comes, and Claude comes back from France to Hollywood. Now we meet in New York, and he has to get rid of the apartment it's in my name in New York. He's the millionaire, but he wants me to pay the rent on it. So when you're cheap, you're really cheap. So Claude was really cheap.
I know, yeah.
So we met in the San Moritz, and I signed off on the lease, but I didn't pay the rent. And we made love again, and I am assuming we're still engaged. So he's seeing lawyers now. His idea of engagement is to be surrounded with lawyers who now were Can you imagine what they were telling him about me, that I was a threat legally because of what's called breach of contract or fraud? So I didn't know any of this. I was still hoping he'd marry me. So a year goes by, and now I end up with a rock and roll clothing designer. I meet with Rod Stewart. Rod didn't make the top 8. He was one of the boys, but I don't know where he is.
Right behind you. There we go.
Yeah, Rod Stewart. We basically just did cocaine all the time and dated like that, and that's the way it was with Rod. So now I fall in love with his clothing designer, Richard Tyler, who has no front teeth, but I get him his teeth. I get him his teeth because I'm into fixing men, and he's real handsome. He looks like long black hair. He's really beautiful. He's a millionaire today. All the men I've been with have become millionaires. So he married another. Richard was such an alcoholic. He sawed a tree. You know when you saw a limb on a tree, he was on the wrong end of it. When the limb fell off, he broke his back, and that's pure alcoholism. So we would fight, and I would end up bruised. And I saw a wonderful therapist named Evelyn Silvers. Remember Phil Silvers?
Yeah.
Who remembers Phil?
Pop banana.
Yeah. So she had 2 sets of twins from Phil, and became a therapist and saved my life. She said, "Carole, how did you get your bruises?" I said, "I was just having some wine." She said, "Did you ever think you're an alcoholic?" I said, "No, me, Evelyn, I'm just chic." And she said, "Well, your bruises aren't." So she called a man at a hospital, and how could I get angry with this man? I could have gotten angry with Evelyn, which I was, but the man asks me what's called 20 questions. Anybody have any friends who are alcoholics or recovering, or you know the disease? Nobody wants to admit it. I know they're there. So anyway, he asked me 20 questions, and I answered them rigorously, honestly. And in the end, he said, "Well, you're an alcoholic." And I, of course, wanted to say, "Get lost. Forget it, buddy." So Evelyn's smart. She said, "You have to go to AA." I said, "I'm not going around those perverts in trench coats, please." Mind you, today I go every day, 37 years later. So she said, "Well, you've got a problem." Obviously, it was with celebrities. So I'm going to arrange for you to be taken. So she arranges for Gordon McRae to take me. Anybody remember Gordon?
Yeah.
Oklahoma, where the wind goes through. I don't know the words. You don't either. So Gordon takes me to my first meeting. Now Gordon's daughter is Heather, who's my best friend, but I'm not allowed to tell Heather that her father's taking me to AA because Sheila and Gordon were divorced, and there was bad blood, so I had to keep it on the quiet with QT, which is not good with my mouth, you can imagine. So anyway, he takes me to my first meeting, which was in a bowling alley. I thought, "Oh, please, get me out of here," until I saw a movie star. The first person I saw was a star, and I said, "Oh, I just loved you in," and I can't say it because it's not. Well, then I knew something was deeply wrong with me. So I said to Gordon, "I want to go to these meetings again with you. Will you take me?" He said, "Only if you don't drink." I thought, well, I never went to the meeting to not drink. I went to be with Gordon. So I thought, oh, he's got me. So I tried that for a while, and I didn't drink. And then Gordon slipped. And then they got me to Al-Anon. Anybody know Al-Anon? Mm-hmm. You know Al-Anon, Friends of Alcoholics. It's a wonderful program. So I went to Al-Anon, and then Gordon got sober again. Gordon was not anonymous, by the way. So now I'm going to Al-Anon, and I'm sober. And in AA, there's a thing called the 12 steps.